Tuesday, October 6, 2020. I am Councilman Tony Brancatelli, Chairman of the Development and Planning Sustainability Committee. I'd like to call this meeting to order. Madam Clerk, will you please call the roll?
Brancatelli.
Here.
Sustainability Committee meeting.
Cleveland.
Here.
Griffin. Hairston.
Here.
Shoot Jones. Slight.
Present.
McCormick. Mr. Chairman, you have a quorum.
Thank you very much. The Development Planning Sustainability Committee hearing is being held during COVID-19 emergency declaration in accordance with Ohio's open meeting laws as amended by sub HB 197. This meeting is being held using the Zoom platform and is being live streamed on YouTube and on Cleveland's Channel 20. It also can be seen on the Cleveland City Council website and from Council's Facebook page. In accordance with Ohio open meetings regulations as amended by sub HB 197, notice of this committee hearing was publicly posted. This committee hearing will be conducted as all committee hearings in accordance with the council rules and Robert's Rules of Order. The chair will facilitate the meeting and call on persons to speak. If you wish to speak, please use the raise your hand option in Zoom, and please limit your comments to the matters before today's committee. As is usual practice, any actions to be voted on during the committee will be done by voice vote, called and recorded by the committee clerk. We have a number of zoning pieces up in front of us today. This is part of our public meeting portion. The first piece we have up is ordinance number 703-2020. Changing the use, area, and height districts of a parcel of land east of Scranton Road and south of Kenilworth Avenue and adding an urban form overlay district, map change 2614. Who is speaking on behalf of planning on this?
This is Shannon Leonard, City Planning. Good
morning,
morning.
Shannon.
Good morning. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen so I can go through some of these map changes with you guys. Can you see it? Oh, maybe not.
Not yet. There we go.
All righty. All right, so this first one is a pretty small rezoning. The purpose of it is this property here is to match the corresponding corners at this intersection at Scranton and Kenilworth. And basically the proposal project here is to rehab and develop a 2-year plus vacant mixed use building to a medical office with upstairs apartments. It's an important mixed use node at this intersection. The rezoning is really to contribute to the character of the neighborhood with a few commercial and residential spots on our important intersections, but keeping our side streets residential. And to ensure that new uses and development will promote quality, pedestrian friendly and sustainable development. This was really a comprehensive project development with city planning, various staff members, including the neighborhood planner, Matt Moss, as well as with council, and went to planning commission, and here we are. So this is really the rezoning proposal. As you'll notice, every other corner here at Scranton and Kenilworth is already zoned local retail. So I'll just kind of go through this real quick. The current zoning, as you can see, is 2-family B1. The other corners are local retail. Up in the northwest corner, you'll also notice there's an urban form overlay. And this is really to kind of match the current land use currently at this property so they can redevelop the vacant building. These are the existing conditions. As you notice, there's a building here already on the corner. It's been vacant for a couple years. Previously, it was a pizza with some residential above. So the development proposal here is really just to enhance this building, redevelop it, turn it into a medical office on the first floor and put apartments upstairs. This is the proposed redevelopment exterior by Vocon. And so that's basically the rezoning here is to match the current land use as well as the corresponding corners, add the urban form overlay so that they can build without having to go to various variances, and to really just enhance this corner and the neighborhood. Any questions?
Madam Clerk, this is a public portion. Did we have anyone send in any correspondence or contact in our office?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, the committee received a letter of support from Mr. David Person and Denver Broker.
Okay. And I did not see anyone from the public. I do not see any other raised hands in my box. I will close the public portion, open this up to Councilman McCormick.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I fully support this rezoning. Again, as was described by Shannon, this is an exciting redevelopment on this corner that quite frankly could use some love in the Tremont neighborhood. So fully support and want to thank city planning staff for their work on this.
Great. Any further comments? I do not see any other hands raised on this. I know you missed that pizza shop over there, Councilman. No further questions. 703-2020 stands approved as read. Thank you very much. The next piece we have up is ordinance number 704-2020 by Councilmember McCormick, changing the use, area, and height districts of a parcel of land on the northwest side of Literary Road at the intersection of West 10th Street, known as permanent parcel number 004-12-091, and adding an urban form overlay along the Literary Road frontage, map change 2613. Shannon, is this you again as well?
Yes, this is me again, Shannon Leonard.
All right,
City
fabulous.
Planning. So again, this is another real small rezoning. It's kind of similar to the last one that we just did. Again, we're rehabbing and developing a mixed-use building with a storefront. It'll have an upstairs apartments and a carriage house. The process to split the lot to allow for new mixed-use building on the other side of the driveway, which we'll see in a few minutes. Again, this is to develop an important mixed-use node at the intersection to contribute to the neighborhood and to ensure that any new uses and development will promote a quality, pedestrian-friendly, and sustainable development here at this important intersection. So the intersection here is West 10th and Literary. The proposal here, again, is to rezone it local retail F1 and adding an urban form overlay. As you'll notice, there's currently an existing building here. Again, this one is also zoned 2-family residential. You'll notice across West 10th that is zoned general retail. Again, this is another mixed use building that really needs some love and attention, and that could be really vital for this key intersection. So this is the current conditions of the building. So again, the purpose is to bring it in so it can be mixed use, and then the urban form overlay again allows the building to be set to the street. And as you can see, that's in existing condition. And so we really wanted this building to be redeveloped and revitalized in that way that again would not have to go through the variance process. So again, this is existing structure to remain. This is pretty much the proposal here to make it look more attractive and to actually get some new tenants in. So that is the proposal, change it to local retail, add the urban form overlay. Again, that's to really cater to the existing use and allow for the redevelopment and revitalization at this very, very important intersection at West 10th and Literary here in the Tremont neighborhood. Any questions?
Great, thank you. Again, this is the public portion for 704-2020. Madam Clerk, did we get any correspondence or did anyone come on for this particular piece? Great, thank you. We'll close the public portion. Councilman McCormick.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I also in support of this rezoning and this redevelopment in the Tremont neighborhood, and another exciting enhancement to the community. And want to thank city planning staff and Shannon for all their work on this as well. So I would support this and ask that my colleagues do the same. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you very much. Any further comments on 704-2020? I do not see any additional hands raised on this. No further questions. 704-2020 stands approved as read. Thank you very much. Ordinance 760-2020 by Councilmember Brancatelli, changing the use, area, and height districts of parcels of land north and south of Harvard Avenue between East 55th Street and western property line of 6900 Harvard Avenue, aka permanent parcel number 132-25006, map change 2616. Shannon, this is you again.
Yes, good morning. Again, Shannon Leonard, City Planning. So this rezoning came about from Councilman Brancatelli as well as the CDC and our neighborhood planner, Miss Nicole Calhoun. And basically the purpose is to remove any legacy industrial zoning and the general retail designations along Harvard between East 55th and East 71st. This is part of a 3-phase rezoning from East 55th to Broadway. And also to consolidate with the 2020 citywide plan and some of the other neighborhood plans. We also want to consolidate some of the hodgepodge of zoning districts, and we want to ensure that future development is consistent with the residential retail nature of this area of Harvard, and that any infill development within the neighborhood core is considerate of the nearby residential uses. So as you can see here, this is the current zoning and permitted uses. It's a mix of local retail, general industry, and semi-industry. And we're really just kind of consolidating these districts. So this is the proposal, and I'm going to walk you through each of the sections. So the first section you see here is in orange. It's the multifamily. We're proposing to change it to multifamily residential, and that's really to replace the general retail. This will align more with our neighborhood desires to promote appropriate infill housing with a diversity and typology housing congruent to some of the neighboring properties. And as you can see in your top right-hand picture in the aerial section east of 68th, it's that small section there. It's next to a multifamily assisted living place already, and we're just kind of bringing this in line with that. And so the next section is proposing two-family residential, which is in yellow on your top right picture. And that is really just to align with some of the existing land uses, and it's to secure property owners' assets and ensure future development is infill housing. And basically this is really important because currently it's zoned semi-industry and it's within 200 feet of a general industry district. So any of the residential properties here, if more than 50% were destroyed based on our non-conforming clause, they could not be rebuilt. This also prohibits a lot of these residents from being able to obtain insurance or any type of refinancing to fix up their homes. And so we really wanted to just bring that in line with the current existing land use. The next section here in green we're proposing a limited retail business. This is really to correct a split zoning issue as it's currently zoned semi-industry and general industry. When you have a split zoning issue, it generally defaults to the more restrictive zoning, but also because they're so close in proximity to residential uses, we really wanted this to be able to be in the future to be more of like a maker space where you could have some retail, but also have some light production or assembly in the back. It's a large warehouse building. And so really preparing for the future to be able to be adapted for a neighborhood maker space. The next section here is north of Harvard next to the CVS, or is the CVS, and we're just proposing local retail D1. Again, this is a split zoning issue, and it's really to allow the existing business to continue operating as such and serving neighborhood retail business needs. The next section here between East 55th and East 59th is really to rezone from general retail to local retail. And that's really to align the zoning with some of the current structures and land use and to ensure that the future development is in line with the neighborhood character of a mix of residential and local retail business needs. And this section here is south of Harvard and it's currently zoned general retail. And again, we want to rezone this to local retail business. Again, not to keep saying the same thing over, but it's really important to ensure that our future infill development is in new uses or pedestrian friendly, and it also aligns with the character of the residential neighborhood south of it. And so again, so this is the area to be rezoned. In your top right-hand corner, you can kind of see it's a mix of residential as well as some small retail. There's a few existing pictures, as you can see, there's some neighborhood stores, a few restaurants, et cetera. And so we really wanted to bring this zoning in line and to continue to ensure good development. So this is the proposal overall. Again, this is part of a three-part process working with Councilman Slavic Village and the neighborhood planner, really to get rid of some of that old industrial zoning and bring it in line more with the more neighborhood uses that we are looking for any new infill development, as well as current existing land uses. Any questions?
Great, thank you. Again, this is the public portion. Madam Clerk, did we get any public comment, or is anyone online for this?
No, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. And I just want to record, I did get a outreach from Mr. Steve Basie at 5706 Harvard after we spoke and talked about the changing. He's over in one of the sections that is going from general retail to local retail. And he fully supports the changes that we've done, that we're doing to upgrade, which helps protect his investment. So that was all the public comments that we had. With that, I'll close the public portion and open it up to my colleagues. If I can go first and just acknowledge the good work that Shannon and Southwick Village Development had done. We had a number of community meetings and broke it down into sections purposely to be able to meet with some of the stakeholders and talk to the most significant stakeholders that will be impacted. Had a positive feedback from our public meetings and fully support this legislation. And I do not see any other hands up or any other comments. With that, 760-2020 stands approved as read. Thank you very much, Shannon. And then our last public piece that we have in zoning is 761-2020 by Councilmember Slife, changing the use area and height districts of parcels of land west of Rocky River Drive between Dartmouth Avenue and Usufruct. I got to be careful saying that. Avenue, map change 2610. Shannon, is this you?
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, Shannon Leonard, City Planning. I believe this is the last one today. So this purpose of this rezoning here is to correct really another split zoning issue of one family and multifamily and to align with the current and proposed uses on the site. So Our Lady of Angels, Inc. is a nonprofit owner purchasing the old Our Lady of Angels or current Our Lady of Angels Rectory building for common spaces and amenities, and to permit by right the planned renovation of 176 units at the historic Franciscan Village, as well as a new addition courtyard for new community rooms, lounges, lobby, and staff space. It's also an Ohio finance project, and so correcting the split zone issue is a pretty big deal. That's pretty much been zoned this way for quite some time. So I'm going to walk you through. So as you can see here, the Franciscan manor and the church have been there for quite some time, as you can see from the historical map on the left-hand side of your screen. And on your right-hand side of your screen, you'll notice that there is a split zoning issue there, right in the middle of where the rectory sits. So kind of directly in front of you where the yellow hits the brown. The parcels are all divided kind of funny. And so that's what's kind of set up the split zoning issue that is causing some trouble in terms of being able to obtain the financing cleanly from Ohio Financing Agency. And so really this is what we're pretty much just proposing to correct this issue. And so the proposal here is institutional research. And so I'll kind of walk you through the reasoning of why we decided to go this route versus just upzoning to multifamily. And so the purpose is to consolidate the one family and multifamily districts, and so that it'll be consistent across all parcels on this campus and to align with the current and future land use proposals here. And just to give you a little bit of a purpose of the institutional research district, we don't have a lot of these in the city of Cleveland, but we do have a few that have come before you in the last 3 to 5 years. And so it is a standalone zoning district. It provides locations and design standards for large scale developments for whether they're educational uses, medical uses, or residential uses. But it also allows accessory retail uses that support these large campuses. So some examples of recent rezonings that included institutional research was not too long ago, we rezoned the area of St. Andrew Abbey and Benedictine High School to institutional research, as well as the Metro Health main campus for their redevelopment project. And so these are the current existing conditions. You'll notice that there's already an assisted living facility here located on the campus, as well as the church and the school as well. And so the proposal here is to renovate and redevelop 176 of these older units that have been here for quite some time, as well as add some community space and some common space. And eventually down the road, there's potentially a proposal for some multifamily residential so that we can have these folks age in place, as well as some accessory retail uses like a barber shop or like a small supermarket, what have you. And so that's really why we went with the institutional research at this location. So again, this is the proposal. We want to consolidate the split zoning issue from this one family and the multifamily, but also allow consolidate the whole campus to be under the institutional research district. That way they can go ahead and renovate the first half of this project with the expansion of the assisted living facility, but also in the future, be able to have some maybe accessory retail uses for our older folks that are living in space here. So again, this is our proposal. Any questions?
Okay, again, this is the public comment period. Madam Clerk, did you receive any public comments or have anybody online?
No, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, and I do not see any hands raised on this as well. We will close the public comment period, open it up to our council colleagues. Councilman Slife.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and this is good timing because the garbage truck was just going by, so about 30 seconds ago it would have been noisy. I'm fully supportive of this legislation. This serves, the dual purpose of allowing Franciscan Village to go through with this rehabilitation project, and they are certainly an institution within the neighborhood. And then, expanding this rezoning to include the Our Lady of Angels campus too really has the intent of preserving these two uses into the future. There's strong support in the neighborhood for both of them. Community meeting was held about this rezoning a couple weeks ago, and it was well received. So, I just asked my colleagues to support this legislation, and thank you to staff for all of the assistance.
Great. Was it the recycling truck or the regular waste?
I think recycling comes later.
Oh, okay. Sorry, I just said that for Director Cox since he's on the meeting. Any other comments? I do not see any other hands raised. No further comments. 761-2020 stands approved as read. Good luck, Councilman. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Let me give you your.
Thank you, Shannon, for all your great work there.
Thank you.
We will now move to our regular agenda. And the first piece we have up is 523-2020 by Council Members McCormick, Bencatelli, Zone, and Bashir Jones to amend sections 13106, duties of special events manager of the codified ordinance of Cleveland, Ohio, 1976, is amended by ordinance number 1516-11, passed December 5th, 2011, 13107, special events permits, as amended by ordinance number 16418, passed March 5th, 2018, and 131.30, duties of Commissioner of Recreation, as amended ordinance number 1330-A-10, passed December 6th, 2010, to eliminate the administrative requirement to hire police officers for block parties and small neighborhood-based community events. Remarks by Director of Public Works. Legislation was passed out. I will open this up. Director Cox, are you speaking on this?
Yes, sir, if I may.
Absolutely.
Yes, we had just asked for one change in the legislation, and that the Commissioner of Recreation be removed from the process, and that it goes to the manager of special events, the application. We had asked, I'm not sure if Mr. O'Leary is on the call, but we had asked our law department work with Mr. O'Leary to recommend that change to this committee. And I'm not sure if it was done or not. But I just wanted to make sure that special events has the application in their process.
Is our law staff, is Jennifer O'Leary on? Oh, there she is.
Yes, I'm here through the chair.
Can you review the two amendments? There were two amendments, I think, that were sent on this.
Yes, through the chair. The first amendment that was made simply clarifies that no food services or merchandise will be offered for sale at these events. Block party organizers may still hire vendors such as a balloon artist or to put up a tent, but they just wouldn't be able to sell items at block parties and small events. And the second amendment goes to Director Cox's question. It moves the block party and small event permit out of the Commissioner of Recreation's realm and into being managed by the Manager of Special Events.
Thank you.
That's called a squib kick. He's kicking it over back to out of recreation to facilities.
Right, well, I
Okay.
think that's where it should be. I think it should have always been. I used to do it when I was commissioner in the 90s, so
Okay, with that, I will open up Council President Kelly.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I looked at the proposed amendments, and from a perspective of council, our issue was really the police requirement. I don't know, should we even be in the business of having the ordinances prescribe which department it should be in or who should do what? I don't know if we're getting, I want this to be, we want to remove the police requirement. We want to make it simple and easy for people to have block parties. We want to encourage community engagement, properly socially distanced with masks, but we want to encourage people to do this, especially post-COVID. So, I don't necessarily think we should be getting too deep into prescribing exactly who does what. I want to make sure that there's no the police requirement and the security requirement is reasonable. The application's easy. All this other stuff, I'll leave it in your capable hands, but I don't know that it's the proper place for legislation to prescribe which division it should land in. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Council President. Councilman Bashir Jones.
Thank you so much, Chair. I just want to be clear, I heard correctly. Is there an amendment that says that at block parties, people can't sell food?
The amendment was specific that in order to have the streamlined process where we are taking away the requirement for police, that we can in fact, they are recommending that they do that, but is prohibiting, it's a matter of small events versus larger events. So when you start selling food or selling goods or product, it now goes to the special events, the larger events than it is for the smaller events, which distinguishes the small block parties from the larger events. You still can sell food, you can still do other things, but it takes it out of the smaller events and moves it over to the larger events.
And if you have a larger event, then you need to have police there?
That my understanding is that is correct. Director Cox?
my understanding from the legislation that was presented, that you do have to have police if there's over 100. I think, Ms. O'Leary, can you correct me if I'm wrong?
Through the chair to the director, correct.
So to the chair, which I think would be unfortunate because, I mean, block parties, people are going to sell food. So now the question is, are you going to punish people for doing that? I mean, I've been to block parties and most times they sell food. Somebody's selling something, and we're in a situation right now where people are looking for resources to make some money in any way possible, and we don't want to make something that's legal illegal just because we're going from small to large events. So I would just propose that we scrap that amendment, prohibiting people from charging for food, or even little trinkets or little whatever they wanted to do on their block. I mean, I move that we remove that amendment.
If that's a motion, Mr. Chairman, I second.
Mr. Chair, point of clarification.
Yes, Councilman McCormick.
Have these amendments been proposed in the first place through council action, or are these just recommended by the administrator? Do we even need to?
These are not formally on proposed yet.
Right, so we don't even need a motion to remove them because they're not in the ordinance. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay. So we would just be deciding not to adopt.
Through the chair to the council person, we would though need to amend out original language that was in the original introduced ordinance that says that does not sell food or hire vendors.
That was what was That was what
the
we
language
introduced.
that was originally written in the ordinance, and that was because we were trying to distinguish these smaller block club parties and small community events from the larger ones that sell food and merchandise. So we would need, if you wanted to
Okay.
get rid of any sale prohibition at a smaller event, you would have to remove the language that originally said that does not sell food or hire vendors.
I'm sorry, I did miss that, yes.
Mr. Chairman, if I may. If,
Director Cox?
and again, that was in the original legislation. It was not proposed by the administration that that not be part of it. The issue becomes when you're selling food, and this information, you need a health food permit.
Yes.
It costs money. You also need insurance, so no one gets sick. So I just wanted to give that from what I know about special events. All right. Thank you, sir.
Yeah, and that's an important point. Having been on the other side at the CDC level, having insurance is critically important when you have the public out around deep fryers or food or things that you're selling. So, Councilman Jones, you still have the floor.
Thank you, Chair. I just think that that we can just make those stipulations and say, hey, if you want to sell food, you need to have this and that. But I just want us to get out of the habit of prohibiting things that doesn't need to be prohibited, which can cause further damage on people. So if that's a part of it, I don't know what the application looks like, but if there's going to be people selling food, these are the things that they need. Now maybe people will say there is none, but there is, they're not selling food, and that's fine too. But we just should have, maybe just part of that being a part of the application.
So the current one-page application, if I recall, Jennifer, is very specific to prescribe for just holding a block club, a block party. And then when you do start checking the boxes of selling, that application is no longer applicable. You have to go to the larger event.
Correct.
So that's the current standard.
Yeah. So currently the permit for these block clubs is very simple. It's in the direction of the Department of Recreation, Division of Recreation. And all you have to do is really just give 14 days notice, pay $20. The only thing we saw at the time that was onerous on that application was the requirement to hire police officers. If we allow people to sell, then it would possibly delay that simple permit and add other layers of going through, the vendor permits.
And that's what I would raise. I think the idea of moving us from recreation to special events, having it at that location, as the council president pointed out, where it's held at is certainly important, but whether we prescribe it be held here or there, I think what's important is it's a one-page application, it's a simple process, and it's a reliable process. When I look at the number of events that have been held in different communities, knowing where it's going to be at and that it can be turned around quickly and not go in front of the 25-person special events committee, but that can be signed off by Ms. Hand or whoever's in that position.
And Mr. Chairman, to that point, we were not going to change the expediency of the permit or the one-page permit. It would just be held in special events and not before the committee, just through the office itself.
Yeah.
Okay, just relieving it from recreation. So that's just our recommendation.
Right.
It was not to enlarge the process or to engage the process in a more in-depth issue. I've had issues this past summer, but summer before that, where we had block parties, and I had to go out and do some things to get some things out the street. So it's just a matter of, these are just neighborhoods. It's block to block, corner to corner, intersection to intersection. That's what these are. These are just block parties that happen all over the city every now and then. So again, we recommended that it be moved. It's up to this committee, as you know, and I just wanted to make sure that recommendation was there.
Thank you. So Councilman Jones, you're done. We'll move on to Councilman McCormick. Okay, Councilman McCormick.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And I want to agree with Council President Kelly as well as Councilman Jones. I think where we should, focus our heads on this one is how do we make this as simple as humanly possible? This is West 38th Street, where I used to have a townhouse, where people go out there and one townhouse brings out the beans and another one brings out salad and another one has fried chicken from Dave's, and they, set up tables, and they're just average residents who don't have the savvy to navigate City Hall, who just want to have a simple block party. I mean, that's what this is about, Mr. Chairman. And I think that as a council, if we can, whatever we can do to simplify the process while still whatever necessities are in there is where we should be headed here. So I would just say that, I'm concerned about the prohibition of selling food items. If someone wants to, for example, Mr. Chair, hire a food truck or a hot dog stand or something like that, an ice cream box on wheels. I mean, that to me, we should not prohibit by law. That's something that I think that we should allow for. So on that piece, and then on the special event side, I have to say, I'm happy to hear the director say that, but I have the same concern. I do not want to wake up next summer and my block parties are being told they have to go in front of a committee of 15 people and the fire department's going to come out and determine whether the tables are, 30 inches or 32 inches. I mean, it's a nightmare. It's a total nightmare. And so I just want to make sure that, if that amendment's going in there, maybe we should specify some sort of administrative sign off in the legislation so that we don't run into the issue of these block groups, again, who are just neighborhood residents trying to have a little picnic, essentially, having to go through the arduous process at the city. So, I personally, Chair, I'd recommend that we remove the prohibition to sell food. I'm fine, if that has to be a vendor who's licensed, that's fine. But again, I think we need to be heading in the direction of removing barriers and requirements in this legislation and not adding them. Just my 2 cents.
Yeah, so Councilman, I think one way of answering that question and following Director Cox's lead is that one-page application we can put as a file attachment to the legislation that this is the process that we'll be following. And we can have that amended and prepared when it goes in front of Finance Committee and do it as a file attachment so we know that that's a process and not having to go in front of the Special Events Larger Committee, but in fact, being able to be managed through Ms. Hands directly with that 14-day notice.
Great. And then Chairman, for the prohibition on food sales, I mean, is that something that we want to consider here or have a conversation about here, or how would you like to?
Well, we originally initiated this with that prohibition, understanding that food sales changes the dynamic of what a block party is. So I think we can have that discussion and try and resolve that as it moves on. And a food truck is different. A food truck is a licensed, bonded, insured versus somebody who sets up a deep fryer on a card table, which really raises a certain liability for these small block parties. We want to make sure, going to Dave's Grocery and picking up a pan of chicken is great, especially for the doctors who have cholesterol checks. But I think, we want to make sure we don't open ourselves up. And I think, I know the safety director's on, the concern we have is, we know the small block parties, we know the limited ones. But once you permit something, we go from 20, 30 neighbors to 200 people. And that's where the safety department has to come in and now say, well, it's beyond what was permitted. And we just want to make sure we stay within bounds of what we're all saying. It's the local mom and pop block parties. We don't want to overprescribe. So
that's it, Chair. And we had the Harvest Moon Festival, which has been going on in Ohio City, and it's truly a block party. I mean, it's Church Avenue, one side street to the other. We have neighborhood residents come out and they bring in their own dish. There's no sales even there. It became so regulated that they stopped doing it and they put it into someone's backyard. I mean, That's exactly what we need to avoid here. We need to be encouraging community building opportunities for our neighborhoods. And it just became, the regulations around that block party became so arduous that the neighborhood just stopped doing it. And then that's not what the city of Cleveland government should be in the business of, in my opinion.
Great. Thank you, Councilman. Councilman Hairston, you have your hand raised.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Yourself and Councilman McCormick touched a couple of my points. Just to round it off, is that Councilman McCormick is right. You know, we don't want to, Councilman Jones as well, we don't want to continue to add barriers, but understanding that some block clubs, you know, potentially may have a food truck or may have a balloon vendor who come and make balloon animals or something, and we sending them through that strenuous process would just really deter them to the point where they just throw their hands up and walk away. You know, in this age that we're trying to encourage community participation and engagement post-COVID, while distancing socially and wearing masks, that we want to encourage people to continue that even in these difficult times. So I would just, I don't know where we are, because I'm kind of back and forth on where we actually stand with the whole food selling and vendor piece here, but that we, not prohibit small food sale items, from a licensed vendor. And I would support something like that that says the person has to be a licensed vendor, just as folks get when they do festivals, they have the permit that allows them to sell at that time or whatever the case is, but that we don't limit some of the block clubs. We have some large block clubs. In fact, on the Northeast side, we have some very large block clubs who have a very healthy membership pot that has the ability to bring balloon vendors or cotton candy vendor or so forth to participate. So just ensuring that they will not be penalized if in such they invited individuals who will provide some of those services. Thank you.
Great, thank you. The Council President, did you have a point, or Councilwoman Cleveland would like to get in?
Just a point, which is my previous point, is that we're spending a lot of time, prescribing rules and regulations. I think we should legislate. I think we should give the authority to promulgate rules and regulations around this, so long as we could legislate that there isn't a requirement for coverage, and that the application be simple, like you said, Mr. Chair. Attach the application to the legislative file. Our intent is clear. If it becomes onerous, Director Cox, I promise you'll hear from us. Legislate, not get into well, this should be Isha Hand's responsibility. Like, I don't think we should get to that level. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilwoman Cleveland.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Yeah, my concern or my comment is just that, we have to balance our residents and our community's right to gather and engage and, do things that we encourage them to do, with the city's liability. If bringing in, someone who's selling food or selling other things, you raise other issues. And if there's something that happens as a result of that, and it was something unregulated or, where's the city's liability in that? So that would be my concern. And I think there should be an administrative process. And at the time the person applies for a permit, we can give them along with the one sheet application, but also one sheet. This is what you can do. This is what what you can't do. I mean, at some point we do have to prescribe some things. We can't just let everybody free for all, because we've seen where, small block parties have turned into disasters. So we just have to find the right balance.
Thank you.
Maybe they to figure it out.
Yeah. I just wanted to double check if the safety director had anything that he wanted to add.
No, safety's concern is of course just the safety of the citizens of Cleveland, and that these parties are be able to held in a manner that, you know, allows members of the community to enjoy their community, their neighborhood, without rising to violence or any type of criminal activity. Also want to just remind everyone that you know, we're still in the COVID pandemic. I know we're talking about block parties, but I think it is important to express that we're still, you know, dealing with COVID, and it's still a prohibition on mass gatherings. I just don't want that to get lost in what we're discussing today.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that, Director. And this certainly is a good discussion to have, an optimistic view that at some point we'll be able to have gatherings again and be able to do it safely. Councilman Hairston, you had a comment to add. Thank you.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, just really quick. I'm not certain whether this ordinance requires that special events or public works notify the council person when such application has been made or permit is in the process of being issued. Can you clarify that?
Yeah, that's part of the application process, Ms. O'Leary?
Correct. Through the chair of the councilman, that's part of the application process. It's on the permit application that the council member signs off.
If I may also, it originates from the council person. Before that is where the original, we'll give the permit to the applicant, and the council person has to sign off first.
Okay. All right. Just wanted to be clear. Thank you.
So given the discussion today, Councilman Jones is going after the sympathy. Bringing children into the view. Given the discussion today, I don't know that we need to amend that it needs to go to from recreation to special events. I think we can just prescribe that as the process. And I think as it's written, as the council president pointed out, eliminating the administrative requirement is in fact in the legislation the way it's written. I think the only resolve we need to do and talk with our colleagues on is the issue about selling and not selling. And the only recommendation I would have then, and I'll make the suggestion if folks are comfortable with passing 5/23/2020 today and using the one-page application as a file attachment, and then we can have Ms. O'Leary work with the administration to make sure that file attachment is tight and what we all support. And then we can have that discussion on the sale or no sale, but to move this forward to get it to finance. If that, I would look at the sponsors, McCormick and Bashir Jones, if that is something you feel comfortable with. Councilman McCormick?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. Yeah, I'm good with kind of working this out before it hits finance or committee of the whole. I don't know if Councilman Jones, if he had a thought on that, but.
No, I'm cool. I'm cool with that. I think that's the better route for sure.
Okay. So so no further questions. We can approve 5/23/2020 as it's written. And attach the one-page application as a file attachment. And then we'll move this off to finance, and then we have a little bit of work to do before it gets heard on finance. Any further questions?
Yeah, Chair, Chair, if
Yes.
I could ask a question. And this process is available online, right? Like people don't have to print out and drop the paper off. Are we able to do all this stuff online?
Not at this time, Mr. Chairman, to the councilman. No,
It's a hard copy right now.
right now it's hard copy.
Oh, wow. Or when will that change?
Well, we have not, it still requires councilperson's signature and requires the applicant's signature. So it's still, we don't have electronic signature on this structure yet. My understanding, Director Cox.
You're correct, sir.
Okay, so there's intentions to make the process easier and by going online. Is that time coming up? Are we planning for it? Or is that a?
Mr. Chairman, to the council, we would like to get a lot of things online. I will check with ITS, but I'm having problems with the camera right now. So My problem with technology well known. So I will check and see when and how we can get this application online, but there still needs to be a process by which even council signs off before we do anything.
Yeah. Well, Chair to the Director, I know that just to let everybody know who's watching, all the cameras work. They all work. So, be careful about doing crazy things in front of you. You're not talking about those cameras, are you, Director?
All right, this camera I'm looking at. Sir.
Oh, the camera you're looking at. Oh, okay.
Yes, sir.
Okay. I thought you were talking about the cameras on the recreation center.
The camera I will use right here. Thank you.
Okay, yeah. So, but you would agree that probably would make and I think that especially once everyone, are able to have block parties, because they've been having it without permits. So, when the time comes for them to be able to have it, it's going to be a rush. And to think that everybody had to drop off a hard copy, that's going to be it's going to be a tough one. So I'm hoping that we at least by the spring, when everything opens back up officially, that we can begin to have that process online.
What's worked well is that some of our block club folks who have been able to scan and forward, we've been able to do it electronically that way, and Ms. Hand has been able to work with us on some of those. Councilman Harrison, you have your hand for a comment?
Just real quick on that point, you just mentioned it, Councilman Chairman, the ability to scan in, and similar to what we do with the land bank lots,
Yes.
where CD now allows us just to respond to the email to say approve or disapprove and add our comments in. So that's one suggestion.
Great, thank you. No further comments. 523-2020 stands approved as read. We'll move this to finance with the attachment to the file. Thank you very much. That was a robust discussion for what's an important part of our day-to-day in dealing with our block clubs. So thank you. Ordinance 673-2020 is being moved to a different agenda day. So we're going to hold that piece. The next piece we have is 737-2020 by Council Members McCormick, Francatelli, and Kelly by department request. Authorizing the Director of Economic Development to enter a tax increment financing agreement with 75 Public Square, Ohio, LLC, and or its designee to support debt service related to the project and assist with the development of new market rate apartments, a restaurant and retail space, to provide for payments to the Cleveland Metropolitan School District, and to declare certain improvements to real property to be a public purpose. Director Ebersol, you're on.
Okay, great. Thank you. This is the second ordinance that would authorize the non-school TIF for the redevelopment of 75 Public Square project. Project development will be 114 apartments, restaurant and retail space as well. Creation of 13 jobs, roughly $42 million project. This is here before for the chain of title, and this is the second piece that would authorize the redevelopment itself, the TIF agreement itself for the redevelopment.
And the renderings that were provided to everyone, I don't think we need to go over those, but those were provided. Do you have anything else as part of your presentation, Director?
No.
Okay. This is Councilman McCormick's ward. Councilman McCormick.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is the 75 Public Square building that we heard in a prior DPS meeting. So as was noted, this is the second piece of that legislation. A very important historical building in downtown Cleveland that, right off of Public Square. And this is, again, the rehabilitation and redevelopment of that building into an active and positive use for the city of Cleveland and for downtown Cleveland. So we're very excited about this rehabilitation of this historic building. And as we know, it is extremely costly to historically rehabilitate these types of buildings in general. So thank you, Chair, for hearing this piece. I support it, and I appreciate the work on this.
This is it is an amazing redevelopment and much needed. I mean, the building is a beautiful, magnificent structure, and we're pretty excited that this is going to get that level of investment as we continue to round out Public Square. Any other questions? I'm looking for anyone that is have their hand. No hands raised on this. No further questions. Ordinance 737, 2020 stands approved as read. Thank you very much. Ordinance 738, 2020 by Council Members McCormick, Francatelli, and Kelly by department request. Authorize the Director of Economic Development to enter a tax increment financing agreement with Stone Lee Companies LLC or designate a support debt service related to the project and assist with the development of housing units to provide for payments to the Cleveland Metropolitan School District to declare certain improvements to real property be a public purpose. Director Ebersol, you're up.
Great, thank you. This is a new construction project to the west of the West Side Market on Lorraine. This is also the second ordinance that would authorize a non-school TIF in support of the project. The development team is a new investor into the area, came out of Chicago, which is great for us to attract that outside money in. It's a roughly $65 million project that they will be developing here, 240 units, as well as some amenity space, and primarily driven through Opportunity Zone dollars too. So that's an example of that working out to bring outside money into the city of Cleveland. So sent some renderings as well. This is a pretty interesting project, and I know they've worked with Councilman McCormick on some public access issues to the, I guess, generally north of the building, looking out over the downtown. So excited project as well. Really looking forward to seeing this come to fruition.
Great, thank you, Councilman McCormick.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I won't repeat what the director said. And again, this is the second hearing that this project has had through DPS. But in addition to this exciting development, there again have worked with the city and the local community on a percentage of affordable units in the building, as well as public right-of-way improvements for the neighborhood. So they're actually going to be investing in some neighborhood amenities for everyone to enjoy. So support this legislation. And again, this is the second hearing. Also important to note, Chair, these are both these are non-school TIFs, just as a, I know that was brought up as a question in prior hearings. Thank you.
Thank you. And seeing the density and the elevations are really a huge addition to our landscape there. And I know how hard your block club works over on what the fit and finish looks like. So congratulations. I'm looking for any additional hands. No other hands up. Ordinance 738, 2020 stands approved as read. Thank you very much. We have two pieces here that are companion pieces, and I will read both of them together. 752, 2020 by Councilmen Bashir, Jones, Francatelli, and Kelly by department request. Authorize the Director of Economic Development to enter into a job creation incentive program grant agreement with Cross Country Mortgage Services LLC or its designee to support the construction of their headquarters at East 21st Street and Superior Avenue. Estimated cost $1.150 million. The second piece is ordinance number 75320 by Council Members Bashir, Jones, Francatelli, and Kelly by department request. Authorizing the Director of Economic Development to enter into a forgivable loan agreement with Cross Country Mortgage Services LLC or its designee to provide economic development assistance to partially finance the development of their headquarters located at East 21st and Superior Avenue and other associated costs necessary to redevelop the property. Estimated cost $750,000. Director.
Great, thank you. And joining me today from the Cross Country team is Alex Reagan and their representatives, Stephanie Mercado and John Pinney. I'll turn it over to them in a second, but just to begin with, this is a really exciting project, a really exciting opportunity for us to bring in a growing company that will bring hundreds of jobs into the center of the city. So we've been working with Cross Country for a couple of years now as they were outgrowing their current location, started looking at doing something that would be a little bit more significant, that would help to strengthen their talent attraction and move them back into the city of Cleveland itself. So their proposal is a really cool project. It's a mixed use development. It features some historic rehab as well of buildings along Superior Avenue. It'll redevelop that whole block there between at 21st and 22nd between Superior and Payne, which is adjacent to the former police headquarters building, if you're trying to figure out where exactly we're talking about here. And so this is, I mean, I think this is an interesting project, not only because of the business attraction piece, but also the fact that it's going to be representative of I think, you know, a newer style of development where you have housing and office space and retail all kind of in one area. So there are three incentives that we've talked about. You have the two pieces here, one of which is a $750,000 forgivable construction loan. Forgiveness is tied to the establishment of 400 new jobs in Cleveland and maintenance of that for 5 years. The second is a job creation incentive grant up to $1,150,000. That is, they'll achieve, the schedule's in the summary, but they'll achieve that if they can eventually ramp their way up to 750 jobs and roughly $55 million payroll in 5 years. So those two incentives, if you look at the anticipated revenues, pay for themselves in about 2 years of new revenues. This is a big job gain for the city for revenues. And then the third piece, which we'll see later, is a non-school TIF. That piece is, I think, went to planning on Friday, and so you'll see it coming up here soon. So that's pretty much, I mean, that's pretty much my story. This is a 400 plus job attraction with really the potential to double it. It's in an industry that's growing, and it's going to really bring a lot of people, a lot of critical mass, and a cool development to that site. And with that, I will turn it over to I think Alex and whomever else he wants to have speak on their behalf.
If I can, Director, are we
Sure.
going to walk through the proposal and the presentation on a share screen?
Yeah, they're gonna cover that.
Okay. All right, great. Thank you.
Yep.
Welcome, Alex. Will you unmute yourself, please?
Sorry about that. Alex Reagan with Cross Country Mortgage. I'm the Chief Counsel at Cross Country. We have John Penny here with us and Stephanie Mercado. I was going to kick it off with just a little bit about Cross Country Mortgage and give you a brief history of where we started and how we got here. In 2003, Cleveland native Ron Lenhart started Cross Country Mortgage as a small Ohio-based mortgage broker. Since then, we've grown into a nationwide mortgage lender operating in all 50 states. We provide residential mortgage loans from purchase, refinance, construction, renovation loans. We have conventional loans, FHA loans, VA loans, et cetera. We've been headquartered in Brecksville for the last 7 or 8 years. And in that last 7 and 8 years, we've grown substantially. We are now currently at 5,000 employees. The mortgage business has gone just extraordinarily well this last year, and we've added 2,000 employees in this year alone. Sales have also dramatically increased over the last 3 years. To give you an example, in 2018, we did $7 billion in loans. In 2019, we did $15 billion. And so far this year, we've done $23 billion in mortgage loans. So we've doubled our sales year over year, double employees year over year. We have currently 400 locations nationwide. We've been adding 100 annually for the last 3 years. The results in all this just extraordinary growth is we've outgrown our space here in Brecksville, and we've been looking at options on where to go and what to do. One option is what's before you here this morning. We're also looking at to continue in a virtual workplace environment, somehow expand here in Brecksville, or just kind of continue to have pods of people in Chicago or other offices that we have across the country. The project before you will lead to an investment of almost $40 million in the project, and bring at least 300 new jobs to the city with a payroll of $40 million. We really need the city of Cleveland's financial support on this due to the competitiveness of the project, and the overall project costs associated with renovating this type of building. John, Stephanie?
I'll just make a few comments. I'll turn it over to Stephanie, who's really worked hard on this. But thanks, Alex, and thanks to everybody for listening and to your support. And Director Ebersol has really been a great partner in this, and the council support is obviously critical and truly appreciated. We've spent 2 years working on this project, a lengthy process to find a site that was suitable and large enough to accommodate the number of employees. And so being able to purchase an entire square block right off of Superior was challenging in and of itself and required a considerable investment of time and energy and to deal with, as you can all imagine, many complicated environmental issues. But we've gotten past that. Here we are hoping to secure all the approvals for this so that we can move forward with what I think is a really incredible project for the Superior District and for the city. And it's a tribute to the company's commitment to the community here. They could go anywhere in the country, and you know, it's their growth rate and their balance sheet is as good as there is in the industry, and they're really, it's an incredible company with a commitment to the city as a result of being founded here, and to the CEO and owners' commitment to wanting to invest in the community. So I think Stephanie's going to share with you more details. I'm certainly available if you have any further questions. But Steph, I'll turn it over to you.
I'm just going to share my screen. So to share with the committee site plan of first the headquarters project, and then I'll switch to another document that shows kind of the larger site plan for the entire site. Can you see my screen?
We got it.
Great. So what's on my screen right now is the overall site plan for the proposed cross-country mortgage headquarters. We have 3 buildings here that we have assembled together to form one historic tax credit project, which really forms the main component of Cross Country's headquarters. As you'll see, we've developed an interior courtyard of one of the historic buildings, a flex training space, and then there is a 5-story building on the corner that would serve as office space, as well as a long warehouse in the back of the property that would also serve as office space. The entire headquarters project serves as approximately 166,000 square feet. And now, can you see the other document that I just switched over to?
We're up. Mm-hmm.
Okay, great. So this here is still the same site plan, and this is the headquarters component, but we also have about a 56,000 square foot multifamily component in one building, and then a smaller building on the corner, which would be mixed use, a combination of retail and multifamily. From a parking perspective, you can see that we planned for surface lots as part of the project, and continue to acquire and assemble additional lots adjacent to the site to accommodate parking, and continue to work with the director in terms of solutions to ensure that we've got adequate parking for such a large project.
So you own all those parcels just on the other side of 22nd?
Yes.
Okay. Outside of the two buildings that are still standing on 22nd?
Yes, we purchased those from GBX.
Okay, thank you. Continue, Stephanie.
That's the basis for the general overview of the project, and looking at both the headquarters component and the multifamily component. We'd be happy to answer any questions that you have about the site plan, development timeline, and overall scope and impact of the project to the city.
And do you have the rest of the presentation in terms of the square footages, the parking, and the interior space?
Yes, I can.
Yeah, if you can flip through that pretty quickly, that would be helpful.
Yeah, okay.
Thank you.
So
There we
this
go.
slide here talks about the total square footage, the planned programming in terms of seat count, and then also available current parking options. We have done an analysis based on looking at how many positions travel and how many positions would be planned for either remote working or part-time remote working. And currently, we are comfortable with the amount of surface parking spots that we have to accommodate a grand opening of the project, but as stated, continuing to work on a longer term solution for additional parking as the company grows. This is some additional just interior plans of what the building or the headquarters would look like from an internal perspective. And this is just an image of what that interior courtyard would potentially look like. Again, another image of what the interior courtyard could potentially look like.
This must be during the COVID because no one's sitting at the chairs.
Yeah.
Exactly.
A lot of images of what the courtyard would look like. Here's
This is
another,
really cool. There we go.
here's another images of what the planned office space is going to look like. And additional floor plans of the building. This here is the back warehouse where you can see we're programming it for a lot of office space. And then in terms of the mixed use component of the project, we've got, once again, the two buildings, which is 2104 and then 2110 through 2130. And here is the 2110 component of the project. $2110 is going to be approximately 40 units. And that is the end of our general presentation on what the site plan and a couple of renderings look like. The other thing that's important about the project, and I did some looking into past projects in the city of Cleveland, but this would be, at least from my understanding, the largest headquarters attraction project, really coming from the suburban location back to the urban core, since the looking at when Eaton left downtown. So I think the importance and impact to the city of especially post-pandemic, committing to the urban core and bringing jobs here is critically important.
So, Director, what's the third piece that's coming back to us?
A non-school TIF project, part of the project.
And then how many apartments again, Stephanie?
For approximately 40 units in 2110, and then there'll be 3 larger units in 2104.
Okay. And that's is that your entire presentation?
Yes.
Before we open up for questions. One of the quick questions I would have, and I know we are dealing with COVID, and the mortgage companies that I work with, and some of the banking, there's a significant number of folks working remotely, and so your headquarters now in Brecksville, I'm sure is at a significant cut down for a number of employees. So this is anticipating a blend of remote working and office working, or is right now the original? I want to make sure I didn't freeze up. All right, I'm on Spectrum cable, so I go in and out sometimes. What are you looking at in terms of occupancy? And part of the financing on this is through our tax incentive program. And this would be to Alex, I guess, or to John.
Alex can probably address that. If not, I'm happy to jump in.
Yeah, I would say, obviously during COVID here, we've dramatically reduced the number of people that are coming into the office. I would hope by the time this project's complete in 2022, we're out of that pandemic. And we'd certainly like to get most of our employees in the office again. A large part of the corporate headquarters are corporate staff and human resources, accounting, finance, et cetera, that really need to be in the office collaborating. Another large piece of the corporate headquarters is our consumer direct channel. So phone systems, support staff for telephone and online sales.
And then with the apartments, then you're looking at phasing these all at similar time. What's the timeline on this again in terms of office and then apartments?
I'll jump in on that. It's likely that we're going to do it all as one, as a result of just staging the construction. And the thought is that a high percentage of the apartments, in fact, we may allocate all of them to cross-country employees who may want to live right on the campus. And so it would make sense to phase them as one. But we had some timing differences in tax credits. And fortunately, I think we expect a successful reapplication that Stephanie and the team just submitted. So it's, like I said, it's looking like we would do the entire project at one time.
Okay. And and it is an incredibly sizable project. Are you looking at any changing any of the street configurations? And I know the one street's one way now, the other street's two way. Have we worked out through some of those maintenance and traffic issues?
I think we've discussed it with Director Ebersol, but we would for sure need the one way, I think, on 21st to be reverted back to two way. I think that was originally changed to try to create more on-street parking, but it actually is difficult from an ingress and egress standpoint for a headquarters like this. So that's something that I'm not sure the process or where it stands, but I would probably defer that to Director Ebersol.
There was certainly an issue around truck. There was a lot of truck traffic in and out of there based on the previous use. So having those turn lanes for trucks. I'm there often. I do business with Harvard Title. And their world headquarters is on 22nd Street with their 10 employees. And it is kind of it doesn't mirror what's going on with how the buildings are being used now. And then I noticed in here, Director Ebersol, the company will, it's noted a prevailing wage for the headquarters construction and a workforce development agreement. Those are both part of this package.
Yes.
Okay. And those are the standard requirements that you've had on almost all of our transactions. With that, I'm sorry, I apologize for stepping in front of sponsoring council person, Councilman Jones. You're on.
Thank you, Chair. No, you don't ever step in front, man. You ask all the right questions, and you've been doing this for much longer than me, so you know the questions that need to be asked. So I always consider it an honor to be on this this body with you. Really, I do. I'm really excited about this. I'm excited for myself and for Councilman McCormick down there, because him and I, we kind of share that area. And you know, the most important thing to me when businesses are looking to come into the neighborhood is are they willing to be good neighbors? And if you're not willing to be a good neighbor, then it's hard to take that case to the community. And from the very beginning in our conversations, Cross Country has been great neighbors. And one of my goals for Ward 7 is to increase home ownership. So right now, what we're doing within this specific group is we are creating an initiative called Welcome Home to Huff. And Cross Country Mortgage is working with us to create programming around assisting people to teach them about, how to better their credit, how to get prepared to purchase a home. And this group has just been phenomenal in working with me, and we're still trying to figure things out and how to make things happen. But their willingness is exactly the type of energy that we need in our community. And even though where they're going to be going, I mean, except for apartments, there's not a lot of homes, but at the same time, this great investment in this part of the neighborhood, we want to be able to reach all throughout the neighborhood. And one of my biggest things in closing that I want to accomplish for Ward 7 is that there's an area that myself and Councilman Harrison share, is the St. Clair Superior area. And it's very hard to get investment to take place in this area. So we're hoping that this can be the spark of some things, also with the new recreation center over at Kovacic, and some other things. We're hoping they can really spark some investment toward the Superior and St. Clair area. So in closing, Chair, Cross Country has been great. I look forward to really building some amazing things with them, not only the physical structure, but assisting us in increasing home ownership for our families in the neighborhood. So thank you.
Thank you. And Cross Country has been a good partner. They do a lot of community engagement. You can see the activities that that their community partners are involved with, and their employees are involved with out in the community. So having them from Brecksville to downtown and that area has just been a huge opportunity as such a large project. So do I have any other hands up or questions raised on these two pieces? Oh, sorry, Councilman McCormick.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Can you hear me?
Gotcha.
All right, I'm frozen on my screen, but as long as I'm not frozen on yours. Okay. I love your off-the-cuff marks about your internet service, by the way, for the record. Anyways, Chair, I just wanted to, congratulate Councilman Jones. Again, this is his ward, but, as he noted that our wards are closer by. He's starting to give me a run for my money on fastest growing ward in the city. So, I'm feeling some kind of way about that, but congratulations to Councilman Jones on this. Look, this is a significant investment in the city of Cleveland. And so, just wanted to also echo the thanks to Cross Country and to Mr. Penny and his team for being really cheerleading this investment. It's great for the neighborhood. It's great for the city of Cleveland. Like cities across America, we've got to be pushing more jobs into the inner core of our regions. We know that's the heartbeat of economic growth. We know that's the heartbeat of innovation. And you've got all the amenities of downtown Cleveland and the surrounding neighborhoods as you do this. And obviously that comes with being able to support recruitment and other items like that. So just wanted to say that it's a very exciting investment in the city. It's great news for the city of Cleveland. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you.
Chair, can I
Councilman
say
Jones?
one more thing?
Yes, absolutely.
I do want to say thank you so much to Director Ebersol, who him and I over the probably past year and a half have really increased in our conversation because of the amount of investment in the neighborhood. And when people come to the table, they already know, it's like they already know the words to say. Director Ebersol kind of gives them the alley-oop. And it's like, I don't even have to fight, it's no fight. So that means that him and I are playing some really good Laker basketball right now, man. And well, I'm sorry, Kevin, man, but I mean, I want LeBron to win the championship, man. But anyway, so much respect, man. To hopefully, I know that the mayor tunes in from time to time, but he really has a great person, Director Ebersol, who is clear about the importance of community and making sure that businesses have a community focus, even though we do want them to be successful in regards to business, but we want them to be mindful of the neighborhoods that they're moving in. And Director Ebersol, he makes sure of that. So just wanted to give him a shout out, man. Director, I appreciate you, man.
Thank you.
Thank you. And it is great. And Councilman Jones, you are winning so far. You score 5,000. Councilman McCormick has 5,000 Twitter followers, and you have 6,000. So he needs to up his scoring. Those are all the hands I see raised. We look forward to this next piece coming back to us as well. No further questions. Ordinance 752, 2020 and 753, 2020 stands approved as read. Thank you very much.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
I think that's all we have on our agenda. So we can conclude. We will be back here in a half hour with the Utilities Committee. Thank you all. Meeting adjourned.